everybody, my name is Tanya and this is my wrap up for Dewey's 24-hour readathon. So in my TBR for the readathon I spoke about the fact that I wasn't sure how this was going to go, that I haven't done a lot of regular reading in a while, especially not, kind of concerted things. What I have been reading has been in audio form, has been in little chunks, making tiny progress on something and taking forever to finish it. So this is the first time I've really sat down and read for longer periods of time in quite a while. And I'm pleased to say that it went really well. So I still had plenty of breaks throughout the day. I couldn't really string together very long periods of just sitting and reading, which I think is myself getting adjusted back into this again. And maybe I best not encourage sitting around for hours reading too strongly. But I was able to switch my study brain off and into my reading from enjoyment brain, which was wonderful. So as I mentioned in my TBR, the readathon for me started at 11 PM on Saturday evening, so I was already fairly tired by the time the readathon came around to starting. I drank some coffee just prior to the beginning to try and keep me up for a little while, and I did keep reading quite a while into the early hours of Sunday morning. But the book that I started with was The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien, and as I spoke about in my TBR, this is an old favourite, something that I just was hoping I would get swept up in, would get me back into reading again. And so I can finally stop saying on my channel, I need to read this because it's been forever. So I kicked off the readathon with this one. I read until about 2 in the morning, and I got halfway through this. So I read the first 130 pages, which was almost halfway, and I was immediately swept up into this world again. It was just delightful. So as I said, I read the first half of this, which got me into 2 AM, at which point I decided I was getting a bit sleepy and should stop for a sleep break and then get up and continue on in the morning. So I set my alarm for 6 o'clock, I think, which was giving me 4 hours of sleep, so. But then I spent, I think, like the next hour, maybe even an hour and a half hitting the snooze button, which I've been pretty bad lately at getting up, but that's a new record for hitting snooze. I'm on a week and a half of leave at the moment, and so the last, few days before this, I haven't had any alarms, which has been delightful. And yeah, my brain didn't take very kindly to being interrupted at 6 AM, so I kind of dozed for the next hour and a bit. Then I finally dragged myself out of bed and slowly got myself around to making some breakfast and catching up on everything that had happened in Instagram and Twitter while I was asleep. So all of that being said, it was about 8:30 before I started reading again, which is fine. I didn't really have a set time goal that I wanted to hit myself, but I had been looking forward to this readathon. I wanted to give it my all. So I had about a 6.5 hour break, and then I got into reading again. So I continued on with The Hobbit at that point, and I read through until I finished this one. 5 out of 5 stars, as always. This was just delightful. Whether or not you've read this, most people are familiar with the story in some form, either from the books or from the movies that are giving it a higher profile again. I've actually only seen the first Hobbit movie. I haven't seen the latter two, and I don't know that I'm somewhat interested and I'm somewhat not. I've heard some really bad things about them, and it's mind-boggling to me that they gave this 3 movies and only 3 for the entire Lord of the Rings. But that's a whole nother story, which I won't get into here. But I love this so much. I have memories of my mother reading this to me. This is how I was first introduced to The Hobbit and to Middle-earth. My mother read this to me when I was quite young, and I still have memory, of her reading that first line, and just gives me all the wonderful feelings. So I flew through this. This, of course, is the story of Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit who is swept up into an adventure with a company of dwarves and the wizard Gandalf, and hijinks ensue, and it is a very different feeling from this one to The Lord of the Rings. It's obviously aimed at a much younger audience, and that was just perfect for getting myself back into reading. After I finished The Hobbit, I decided that I wanted to get up and get moving, and I decided to go out for a walk in the sunshine, because yes, there is actually sunshine here at the moment, and it's amazing. We've been having a ridiculously wet spring so far. It's been wet and miserable here, but we're stringing together a few days of sunny weather, which is just gorgeous, and I'm looking at it going, I need to get out there again. So after I finish filming, maybe it's time for another walk. However, in the interest of actually wrapping up what happened in the readathon, I headed out into the sunshine, I took my audiobook, I went for a walk on the beach, and it was glorious. And the audiobook that I'm listening to at the moment is The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov, and I am really quite enjoying this. I really have no idea what's going on in a good way, and that's probably about as much as I can say about this one at the moment. I went for a walk and then I got some food and sat and ate that, also listening to my audiobook. And so between all of that, I think I listened to a little over an hour of this, which equates to about 30 pages. And it's really interesting when you kind of do that calculation for this and you realise just how slow audiobooks are. But anyway, I made some progress on this. I'm approaching halfway through it now, and like I said, I don't know that I have anything sensible to say about this yet at all, so hopefully I will at the end, although from everything I've heard about it, it probably will continue to be completely confusing in a good way, and, you know, I'm alright with that. Then when I got back from my walk, I decided I would go for something light, and so I picked up a graphic novel, and I read I Hate Fairyland Volume 1, This Is Madly Ever After by Scotty Young, and I really enjoyed this. I'm sure you're all familiar by this point, but this is the story of Gertrude, who is a young girl who falls through into fairyland and is given a quest. She has to find a key in order to get home, but 27 years go by and Gertrude is still there and is a very angry middle-aged woman in a young girl's body, and there's violence and, yeah, lots of death and gore and muck in Technicolor colour, and it's just really amusing. It was a lot of fun, and I would definitely recommend it. After that, I thought I'd better pick up my readathon staple, the staple that I almost forgot in my TBR video for this. I am so out of practice, evidently, and that of course is my Animorphs book. So this time I am up to The Forgotten. This is the 11th book in the Animorphs series, and we are now back to Jake again. So we've done two full rotations, and we're back to Jake again as the narrator, and this was like the weirdest one yet, I think. So I do remember the storyline of this one still. Maybe not as clear as some of the earlier ones, but I did remember this as we were going through. This one kind of introduces a weird, like, time travel or time parallel universes weirdness element to it, which was quite strange. Like, Animorphs is already far-fetched as it is, hopefully, but, you know, this was extra weird for Animorphs, and that was a little bit odd, but also wonderful, enjoyable. I loved it, and it's just Animorphs, guys, and I am still loving this journey of rereading them. So I'm glad I'm back to BookTube because it means readathons and it means more Animorphs. And lastly, I made a start on a final book, and that is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, obviously the first book that makes up the Lord of the Rings. And after finishing The Hobbit, I wanted to continue on to this one, of course, and I am loving being back in Middle-earth, guys. I needed this. And so I made a start on this one. I read the first 149 pages of this one, and I am loving it. So I think definitely this next week that I have off, quite a lot of it will be devoted to reading The Lord of the Rings, and I am okay with that. And so that one saw me through to the end of Readathon. So at the end of it, I had finished 3 things, admittedly quite small. So The Hobbit, I Hate Fairyland, and an Animorphs book. Then I made progress on 2 others, my audiobook, very small progress as it turned out, and I made a very good start on The Fellowship of the Ring. This came to 743 pages in total, and I read for about 10.5 hours during the 24, so I'm pretty happy with that. As I said, not knowing how this was going to go going in, I am very happy with that. I think I read for about 11 hours last time round, and I'm a lot less delirious than I was that time around, so obviously I treated myself a bit better during that time as well. Throughout the day I posted a lot of updates to my Twitter and to my Instagram, which are always linked down below, so if you are interested in seeing the journey that I took for this readathon, they will be linked down below. And I had a lot of fun. Reading everybody else's posts and seeing how everybody else is doing. People are just incredible. I think people are amazing, and this once again has been a great community experience. And yeah, so that was my readathon. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the books that I read, and if you've read any of them, and let me know how you did with the readathon. As always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.